Hello student, today topic of lecture, the digestive system. Next question, anatomy of the liver, anatomy of the gallbladder, anatomy of the pancreas, anatomy of the peritoneal cavity, peritoneum. The liver is the main metabolic organ, the largest digestive organ. It's located intraperitoneally in the right epigastrium. Epigastrium is divided into two large lobes and is brownish color. Functions of the liver apart. Central metabolic organ and nutrient storage, glycogen, fats, amino acid, vitamins, metals. Detoxification and excretion function, production of plasma proteins, coagulation, oncotic pressure, hormones. Production of bile, exocrine glands, formation of hormones, endocrine glands, immune defense, breakdown of red blood cells in the event of hemolysis, as well as the formation of blood fetal period. Projection of the liver. The liver lies in the intraperitoneal position and takes up the majority of the right upper abdomen. This is upper abdomen. Right. The liver directly lies underneath the upper edge of the right hepatic lobe, project onto the fourth intercostal space, and the left lies somewhat deeper on the 5/5 ribs. Because of domed shape of the diaphragm, then anterior and posterior side of the liver are covered in part by pleural cavity. The lower edge of the liver is covered by the costal arch up to the right, mid-clavicular line. That's right. Liver. You see diaphragm. Structure of the liver. The liver is divided into a large right and a small left hepatic lobe. Lobus hepatis dexter, lobus hepatis sinister. They are separated anteriorly by ligamentum falciforme hepatis. Ligamentum falciforme hepatis. On the bottom edge of the ligamentum falciforme, which runs to the front of the abdominal walls, lies the ligamentum teres hepatis. Ligamentum teres hepatis, relic of the vena umbilicalis. Vena umbilicalis, Latin. Liver in situ, you see, liver. This is right lobes. This is left lobes. This is ligamentum falciformis, hepatis, and you see ligamentum teres hepatis. This is margo. Diaphragm. A differentiation is made between the upper side lying underneath the diaphragm, fasces diaphragmatica, and the lower side facing down toward the viscera, fasces visceralis, which anteriorly is delimited by inferior margin. Fasces diaphragmatica is partially fused to the diaphragm and is not covered with peritoneum viscerale, area nuda. This is not covered peritoneum viscerale. In the fasces visceralis, the incision fissura ligamentum teres. Teretis, caused by the ligamentum teres hepatis, continues up to the hepatic porta. Porta hepatis. This is fasces diaphragmatica, dexter, fasces diaphragmatica. This is left lobus hepatic sinister. This is fasces visceralis. What do you see? Fasces diaphragmatica, dextral lobes and sinistral lobes. This is margo inferior of hepatis. Porta hepatis. In the portal hepatis is right and left main tributaries of the vessels and nerves of the liver mostly enter or leave is following order. Ductus hepatis communis, right ventral arrangement, arteria hepatica propria, vena porta hepatis, vena porta hepatis, vena porta hepatis, arteria hepatica propria, ductus hepaticus communis, The ligamentum venosum, remnant of the ductus venosus of fetal circulation, continues the course of the ligamentum teres in cranial direction. Ligamentum venosum continues the course of the ligamentum teres, hepatis. This is, you see, incisura ligamentum teretis, ligament porta hepatis. On the right side of the portal hepatis, the vena cava inferior is located above of the groove and the gallbladder, vesica biliaris, is located below in the gallbladder fossa, vesica biliaris, in fossa vesica biliaris is located gallbladder, vena cava inferior, portal hepatis. This is, you see, common hepatic duct, portal vein, triada, and common hepatic artery, common bile duct. This close relationship of the vena cava inferior and gallbladder create an H-shaped structure whose horizontal beam represented porta hepatis. Ventral and dorsal the porta hepatis, two approximately square areas and defined on the underside of the right hepatic lobe, which are designed ventrally as lobus quadratus near gallbladder, lobus quadratus, and lobus caudatus. This is vena cava inferior, ligamentum venosus. This is porta hepatica. This is lobus caudatus, between gallbladder and notch for ligaments teres and falciform ligament located lobus quadratus. The liver is not covered by peritoneum in large areas. area nuda, porta hepatis, gallbladder, and groove of vena cava inferior. You see. Parts and segment of the liver. The liver is divided into 8 functional segments. 3 vertically running hepatic vein divided the liver into 4 adjacent divisions. Divisio lateralis, sinistra, division lateralis, division medialis, sinistra, division medialis, dextra, and division lateralis, dextra. These fourth vertical division are divided by branches of the liver triad. Vena porta hepatis, arteria hepatica propria, ductus hepatis communis. Segment 1 corresponds to the lobus caudatus. Segment 2 and 3 of the fasces visceralis, the anatomical left hepatic lobe. Segment 4 and division medialis, sinistra, and the segment 5 and 8, the rest of the anatomical right hepatic lobe, where the latter are numbered in the clockwise direction. The lobus quadratus is a part of segment 4, subsequently is ninth segment, which lies between segment 8 and 1. Could be described, but is so far hardly taken into account of surgery. What you see, hepatic segment. You see photo, microscopic anatomy of liver. You see a normal lobular pattern of the liver, enlarging width of liver lobule. You see in lobule in the center located central vein, periphery, located connective tissue, which consists blood vessels and blood vessels blood vessels. Lobula is consists hepatis, cell hepatica, hepatocytes. What you see schema, microscopic anatomy of the liver. This is you see three-dimensional representation of small portion of the one liver lobula, showing the structure of sinusoid. Arrows indicate the direction of a blood follows. What you see, this is angle of lobulus. In angle of lobulae, located portal triad, bile duct, portal venula, portal arteriole. From portal vein, venula, and portal anterior passes sinusoid. Sinusoid enter central vein. Every hepatocytes contacts with blood and bile. Topography. In vivo, the liver is malleable and adjusts to the shape of the surrounding organs. In fixed state are adjacent organs leave mark impression, which are regarded as fixation artifacts and are not significant. However, they provide information about the position of the liver. The liver has direct positional link to the following adjacent organ: right hepatis, lobe, suprarenal impression. What suprarenal impression? Renal impression, colic impression, duodenal impression, and gastric impression. And the esophagus and stomach. In left hepatic lobe. This is surface visceralis, passes visceralis of the liver. The liver is connected through a series of peritoneal duplication. Above this diaphragm, near the area nuda, anteriorly with the abdominal wall, and caudally with neighboring organs. This ligament originates from mesogastrium ventral of the intestine. On the fasces diaphragmatica, the ligamentum falciforme hepatis continues cranially to the ligamentum coronarium. This surrounds the area nuda and runs of the right and left into ligamentum trianguli. as a connection to diaphragm. With the ligament triangular sinistrum runs our into peak-shaped appendix, fibrosa hepatis. Appendix, fibrosa hepatis. Ligamentum falciforme, ligamentum teres hepatis, ligamentum coronarius, and ligamentum triangulus dextra y triangula sinistra. Below the ligamentum teres hepatis, a relic of the vena umbilicalis from the fetal circulation, joins the ligamentum falciforme. Both ligaments run to the ventral wall and contain fine vena paraumbilicalis and lymph vessels, which the lever connects to the vessels and nerves of the anterior dorsal wall. The origin of lesser omentum minus, is on the fasces visceralis, which after its attachment is divided into two ligamentum. Ligamentum hepatogastrium and ligamentum hepatoduodenale. Ligamentum hepatoduodenale, stomach, liver, stomach, ligamentum hepatogastricum. This is, you see, the duodenum, ligamentum hepatoduodenale. What you see is hem, lesser omentum. This is, you see, this is greater omentum, omentum majus. What do you see? Omentum majus. This is lesser omentum. In the ligamentum hepatogastricum, the parasympathetic rami hepatici run the trunci vajalis to the liver, and in this way rami pylorici to the stomach. In the ligamentum hepatoduodenale, the components of the liver triad run in the following arrangement to the liver. Right, ductus halidochus, left, arteria hepatica propria, red color, and dorsal vena porta hepatis, with this blue color. This ductus halidochus, arteria hepatica propria, and vena porta hepatis. In addition, lymph vessels, lymph nodes, and autonomic nerves, plexus hepaticus. Under the ligamentum hepatoduodenale is entrance to the bursal mentalis, foramen omentale and or foramen epiploicum, bursal mentalis, which represents a recessus of the peritoneal cavity behind the omentum minus or stomach. This is behind. This is anterior surface in the ento in posterior of behind peritoneal cavity, behind and stomach, behind stomach. Omentum minus. Gallbladder and bile ducts. The gallbladder, vesica biliaris, is located intraperitoneally in the right upper abdomen, directly under the liver, where it merges into the gallbladder fossa vesica biliaris. It's connected with the liver and duodenum via the bile ducts. The gallbladder is used for the storage and the concentration of bile produced by liver. The gallbladder is filled by backflow when the sphincter or at the opening into the duodenum is closed. If you open, this is closed. Projection and topography of the gallbladder. What you see, gallbladder. The fundus of gallbladder overlies the lower edge of the liver and project onto ninth rib. Here it lies immediately on the abdominal wall. The fundus of the gallbladder is in contact with right flexura of the colon. The body and neck area, body and neck area lie ventrally to duodenum. This is transverse colon transversum. Body and neck area lie ventrally to duodenum. This is stomach, duodenum. The gallbladder is 7-10 cm long and divided into body of gallbladder, corpus vesica biliaris, with fundus vesica biliaris and column vesica biliaris. It usually holds approximately 40-70 milliliter of bile. At the neck, at the column vesica biliaris, it joined the 3-4 cm long excretion duct, ductus cysticus, which by means of fold, plica spiralis, is closed before it merges with the main duct of the liver, ductus hepatis communis. Into ductus halidocus or ductus biliaris, ductus halidocus. Ductus hepatis communis is formed in the porta hepatis from its right ductus hepatis dextra and ductus hepatis sinister. At the neck there is peritoneal duplicature to the liver in which arteria cystica runs. You see isolated, you see bile duct, gallbladder, and pancreatic duct. This is pancreas. This is gallbladder. This is common hepatic duct. Right hepatic duct, left hepatic duct. This is your C, common hepatic duct, and common bile duct, halidocus, ductus halidocus. You see the isolated gallbladder and cystic duct. This is fundus, corpus, column, ductus. Ductus halidocus is on the average 6 cm long. The ductus halidocus initially run ventrally and right of the portal vein in ligamentum hepatoduodenale, then behind pars superior of the duodenum to finally reach to the pars descendants of the duodenum via the head of the pancreas. What you see via head pancreas. The confluence is located in the papilla duodeni major, which lies 8-10 cm away from the pylorus of the stomach or dorsomedial wall in the middle third of the pars descendants of the duodenum. Pars descendants, papilla duodeni major, ductus halidocus, ductus pancreaticus, gallbladder. Before the confluence, the ductus halidocus mostly combines this is ductus pancreaticus to the two ampulla hepatopancreatica. The smooth muscles of the wall form musculus sphincter ductus halidocus and musculus sphincter ductus pancreatice. connect to ductus and forms ampulla hepatopancreatica. Together, musculus sphincter ductus halidochy and musculus sphincter ductus pancreatici forms musculus sphincter ampulla. Caelid triangle, then ductus cysticus, ductus hepatis communis, and inferior surface of the liver. Together form the cystohepatis triangle, also referred to Caelid's triangle. It's limited: ductus cysticus, ductus hepatis communis, and inferior surface of the liver. In 75% of cases, the arteria cystica originate in the Caelid's triangle from the rami dextra of arteria hepatica propria and runs posteriorly through this triangle to the rich ductus cysticus and the neck of the gallbladder. This is arteria cystica, is branch of arteria hepatica propria. Branch of arteria hepatica propria. What do you see propria? Pancreas. The pancreas is a combined exocrine and endocrine glands of the digestive system, and in living people is salmon pink in color. Function: pancreas. Formation of digestive enzymes, which are predominantly emitted as an inactive precursor exocrine pancreatic secretion of hormones for regulation of blood sugar levels, metabolism, and digestion. Endocrine pancreatic section, located in tail of pancreas. The pancreas is 14-20 cm long, parenchymatous organ with a lobular structure and the average weight approximately 70 grams. Due to its fixed position in the retroperitoneum, the pancreas projects relatively constantly in the central upper abdomen on the second lumbar vertebra and is surrounded by duodenum. Duodenum. Then the pancreas is divided into head, caput pancreas, neck pancreas, column pancreatis, body, corpus pancreatis, and tail, cauda pancreatis. The head runs downward into a process that surrounded artery and vena mesenterica superior, arteria and vein mesenterica superior, due to its shape, is referred to the hook process, processus anseatus. It is separated from the pancreas body to a notch. It is incisura pancreatis. Incisura pancreatis. To the left, the head merges into neck, which represents a narrow transition area to the body, approximately 2 cm. To the body. The body is approximately triangular. The upper and lower edge, superior and inferior marco, limit the anterior and posterior sides, whereby the anterior side is additionally divided into upper and lower section. Fasces antera superior, anter inferior and posterior by the anterior border, marco anterior, which is not always clearly visible. Excretory duct system of the pancreas. The pancreas has two excretory ducts, ductus pancreaticus, and ductus pancreaticus accessorius. This is ductus pancreaticus, open in duodenum, and ductus pancreaticus accessorius opens into duodenum. Pancreatic head is covered at the top by pars superior of the duodenum and adjoins the medial side of the pars descendens of duodenum. Here the head is penetrated by the ductus polydochus before joining with ductus pancreaticus. This is duodenum, head of pancreatus. This is neck, body, tail. You see upper abdominal region with pancreas, duodenum, spleen and left kidney. What you see? Pancreas. This is caput, this is neck, body, tail, and you see pancreatic duct. This is, you see, ductus hylidochus. This is papilla, major duodenal papilla. This is, you see, duodenum, pars ascendens. Gallbladder, liver. Next question: peritoneal cavity and peritoneum. The digestive organ in the abdominal pelvic cavity, surrounded by peritoneum and peritoneal cavity, cavitas peritonealis. All division of the ventral body cavity contains lipid serous membranes. The most extensive of which the peritoneum of the abdominal cavity. The visceral peritoneum. This is peritoneum divided to visceral peritoneum and parietal peritoneum. The visceral peritoneum cover the external surface of most digestive organ. The visceral peritoneum is continuous with the parietal peritoneum, which line the body wall. Between visceral peritoneum and parietal peritoneum is the peritoneal cavity, a slit-like potential space between digestive organ and the abdominal body wall. This is, you see, peritoneum include visceral peritoneum and parietal peritoneum. Visceral and parietal. Mesenteries. Mesentery is a double layer of peritoneum, a sheet of two serous membranes, fused back to back, that extends a sheet of two serous membranes fused back to back, and that extend to the digestive organ from the body wall. Most mesenteries are dorsal mesenteries, extending dorsally from the alimentary canal to the posterior abdominal wall. In superior abdomen, a ventral mesentery extend ventrally from the stomach and liver to the anterior abdominal wall. Dorsal mesentery, ventral mesentery around the alimentary canal organ, and glands, liver. The two ventral mesenteries are ligamentum falciforme and amentum minor or lesser amentum. Lesser omentum, il omentum minor, minus, amentum minus. The falciform ligaments bind the anterior aspect of the liver to anterior abdominal wall and diaphragm. The lesser omentum runs from the liver to the lesser curvature of the stomach and the beginning of duodenum. All remaining mesenterias are dorsal mesenterias. The greater omentum connect the greater curvature of the stomach to the posterior abdominal wall. The long colli of the jejunum and ileum are supported by mesentery. The transverse mesocolon is held to posterior abdominal wall to the transverse mesocolon. Mesentery, transverse mesocolon, and the sigmoid mesocolon is mesentery that connect the sigmoid colon to the posterior pelvic wall. You see abdominal cavity and greater omentum, and you see this is cut edge mesentery. Peritoneal cavity contains lubricating serous fluid that is secreted by the peritoneum and allows the digestive organ to glide easily along one another and along the body wall if they move during digestion. Between peritoneum parietale and the torso wall is located extraperitoneal space. Dorsally, the extraperitoneal space is expanded to the retroperitoneum, spatio retroperitoneum. This is peritoneum parietal peritoneum with serous fluid, which continues retroperitoneum, which continues caudally into the pelvic cavity in a subperitoneal space, spatio extraperitoneale. This results in different positional relationship to the organ. This is, you see, kidney located retroperitoneal. Intraperitoneal organ are covered on their entire surface by peritoneum visceralis. Peritoneum visceralis. Peritoneum visceralis, which represents the tunica serosa of the respective organ. The organ has small suspensory ligament, mesentery, and ligaments that contain the supplying vessels and nerves as the peritoneal duplicatus. At the root, peritoneum viscerale of the organ change into peritoneum parietale. Peritoneum parietale of the abdominal cavity wall. Intraperitoneal are pars abdominalis of the esophagus, stomach, pars superior of the duodenum, this is retroperitoneale, jejunum, ileum, cecum, appendix vermiformis, colon transversus, colon sigmoideum, liver, gallbladder, spleen, as well as pelvic organ body of the uterus, and ovarium and tuba uterina. This is parietal peritoneum, the green color, and visceral peritoneum, this is blue color. Retroperitoneal organs are mostly only covered on their anterior side by the peritoneum parietale. These organs can also be created as the primary retroperitoneal organs outside of the abdominal cavity, such as kidney, adrenal glands. Secondary retroperitoneal organs are only shifted to the dorsal wall during development. These include other part of duodenum, colon ascendens, colon descendens, proximal rectum, and pancreas. Intraperitoneal organs, extraperitoneal. Intraperitoneal are located in peritoneal cavity, cavitas peritonealis of the abdominal cavity or of the pelvis, covered from all sides with peritoneum viscerale and secured with peritoneal duplicatus at the mesentery and ligaments. Extraperitoneal organs are located outside the peritoneal cavity in the retroperitoneal space of the abdominal cavity at the spatium retroperitoneale or subperitoneal space of the pelvis, spatium extraperitoneale pelvis, are not or only partially covered by peritoneum parietale. The abdominal cavity is subdivided by the colon transversum with its mesocolon transversum into the upper and lower abdomen. This is upper abdomen, this is lower abdomen. Upper abdomen is occupied to the right by liver, gallbladder, and left by stomach which continues in part superior of duodenum. Behind stomach is the spleen and pancreas in the retroperitoneum. Between the liver and the stomach, duodenum extends the omentum minus as a frontal peritoneal duplication. This is upper abdomen. Upper abdomen. Lower abdomen contains the other section of small and large intestines and is overlaid to the front by the omentum majus. What you see? Omentum majus that originate on the stomach. In addition to the various sections of the duodenum and large intestine, also located in the retroperitoneum are the kidneys and adrenal glands. This is, you see, lower abdomen, colon transversum, upper abdomen. What you see, greater omentum, the omentum majus. This is yellow. Omentum majus. Omentum majus is an apron-shaped peritoneal duplicature with area approximately 1 quadratus meter, which overlays the organ of the lower abdomen. This is what apron-shaped. The omentum majus consists of 4 parts: ligamentum gastrocolicum, ligamentum gastrosplenicum, ligamentum gastrophrenicum, and apron-shaped section. Omentum majus. This is green. Omentum majus. Omentum majus. What you see? Omentum majus. The most important peritoneal duplicature is ligamentum gastrocolicum. Ligamentum gastrocolicum. Which connect the large curvature of the stomach with tenia transversus. This ligament is origin of the omentum majus, which develops dorsally in the mesogastrium and contains supply vessels and nerves. To the left, continues in the ligamentum gastrosplenicum and up into gastrophrenicum. This is gastrocolicum, gastrosplenicum, gastrophrenicum. The apron-shaped part is highly variable in its extent and can take up very different position. What do you see? Omentum. What do you see? What you see? Omentum majus. And this is, you see this, you see what transverse column. This is omentum majus. This is, you see, intestine, small intestine. Function of the omentum majus: secretion and absorption of peritoneal fluids. In indifference, arteriovenous anastomosis, mechanical protection, thermal insulation. Amentum minus, what this is? Amentum majus, what you see, amentum majus, omentum minus. Majus minus. Apron shape. Cave, small and cave lava abdominal. Amentum minus is frontal peritoneal duplication, which connects the liver and the duodenum and forms the anterior wall, stomach, duodenum, and form anterior wall of bursa omentalis. This is, you see, foramen omentalis, bursa, what you see. Pars omentum minus ligamentum hepatogastrium, gastricum, ligamentum hepatoduodenalis. Ligamentum hepatogastrium contains vessels, nerves, making its largest part of the omentum minus. Under the ligamentum hepatoduodenale is the opening of the bursa omentalis, foramen omentale epiploica. In the ligamentum hepatoduodenale, the liver tract runs in the following order to the liver: ductus polydocus, right; hepatica propria, hepatica, vena porta, hepatis, lymph vessels, lymph nodes, and autonomic nerves, plexus hepatis, Recessus of the peritoneal cavity. The peritoneal duplicature, which rise up the relief of the rear wall of the peritoneal cavity as fold, plica, and ligamenta, form various recessus and represent the bulges of the peritoneal cavity. This is plica, ligamenta, recessus, bulges. Recessus of the epigastrium. This is, you see, opened bursa. This is a foramen omentale. The bursa omentalis is a sliding space between the stomach and pancreas, which only communicate with abdominal cavity via the foramen omentale. But between this space between stomach and pancreas, which only communicates with the abdominal cavity via the foramen omentale and foramen epiploicum, under the ligamentum hepatoduodenale. The bursa omentalis is divided into 4 sections. Foramen epiploica. The entrance to bursa omentalis is fronted by the ligamentum hepatoduodenale, above by lobus caudatus of the liver, below the part superior of the duodenum, and behind by vena cava inferior. Vestibulum, vestibulum, vestibulum. The front of the vestibulum is delimited by the omentum minus and with recessus superior reached behind the liver. Next, isthmus. This is isthmus. The narrowing between the first and main space is limited by two peritoneal fold of the right side through the plica gastropancreatica, which is raised by the arteria hepatica communis, and on the left through the plica gastropancreatica, in which the arteria gastrica sinistra runs, and main space. It lies between the stomach in front and the pancreas or parietal peritoneum of the abdominal wall is behind, the recessus splenicus and recessus inferior. This is main space, isthmus, vestibulum, isthmus, main space, and foramen omentale. Together, this is bursa, located behind stomach. Enter in foramen omentale, Recessus of lower abdomen. This compartment is divided by the mesenteric root, radix mesentery, of the small intestine into the right infracolic space and left infracolic space below the mesocolon transversus, lateral of the colon ascendens and descendens are paracolic trenches sulci paracolic, and below mesocolon sigmoideum. Of the recessus, what we see, recessus sigmoideus, intersigmoideus. The right paracolic trenches is directly connected to the recessus hepaticus, while on the left a ligamentum phrenica colicum represents a barrier. At the flexura duodenioinalis, what do you see? Flexura urinalis. The plica duodenalis superior, plica duodenalis plica duodenalis superior, plica duodenalis inferior. Form 2, recessus areas, recessus duodenalis superior and recessus duodenalis superior duodenalis and recessus duodenalis inferior, superior, inferior, это recessus. There are the pars recessus at the confluence of ileum into cecum. Recessus iliocecalis superior, recessus iliocecalis inferior. And iliocecalis superior and recessus iliocecalis inferior. In the pelvic section of the peritoneal cavity, there are various recesses in front of the rectum depending on the sex. In women, the space is limited anteriorly by the uterus this excavatio recto uterina, excavatio recto uterina, excavatio recto uterina is the lowest point of the female peritoneum cavity. Next, the excavatio vesico uterina, this is vesico, this is uterina. Excavatio. The excavatio vesico uterina. Excavatio vesico uterina. Located in front between bladder and uterus, does not to quite as far caudally. Excavatio vesico uterina, excavatio recto uterina. In men, there is only one recess which reaches at the front as far as the bladder and according. Now is excavatio recto vesicalis.